The boys are back, and it only takes like 5 minutes for you to realize just how much you missed these guys. I mean, the banter just kicks in. And the one thing that I've complained about their previous specials is just how short they were, because they were less than 2 hours. But this time they decided to go all out. They gave us like 2 hour. It's like a proper movie. It's a 2 hour odyssey for these particular guys. They go to the Sahara Desert. They go to It's not Mauritius, it's Mauritania. Mauritania is west of Africa. It's west of the Sahara Desert, and it's like to give you a good perspective, it's north of Senegal. Senegal is in West Africa. It's the far end of West Africa, and so the country is predominantly a desert, and so they have to move from, Mauritania down to Senegal, Dakar. Think of the Dakar rally. But this time they have to take like supercars that are meant for, Europe, the streets, they are meant for comfort and moving around in town. They are luxury cars, and take them, modify them to go into the desert. This was inspired by the recent trend of supercars company making off-track vehicles. So they decided to pick their own. James took Maserati. Richard took an Aston Martin, and obviously Clarkson Jag as usual. And wow, one of the most entertaining moments was just following Richard, because his Maserati was interesting. It's a character in its own. It's one of the most it's literally tormented. It was like a Terminator from Terminator 3, and if you watch the movie, you know what I mean. It's like the Terminator from Terminator 3. It's designed to just make Richard's life miserable. Now, for me, this was the perfect special. Let me explain why. Number one, as usual, you've seen many documentaries, you've seen very many movies, and usually you can see stunts, you can see stunt doubles, you can see other people do the work for the actors, you can see the actors being told, you guys, we need to keep you safe, you're too expensive. It's only in Grand Tour that you actually see the reporters do stupid shit. I mean, there's something that Jeremy does. If you've seen the show, you know what I mean. On a cliff with this jug, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is super risky, and it's real. It's him. It's not a double. It's not a stuntman who's doing it. It's actually Jeremy doing it, and you're like, is Jeremy trying to die? Because this is a convertible. Number one. Number two, whatever he's doing is super risky, and then to top that, they do the same thing but with a large oil tanker. Not like a super large one, it's just a small enough, but at the end of the day, it's the truck that they were moving around with that was supplying them with fuel, and they actually do the same stunt with that fuel, and you can actually see the person inside. It's not James, it's not Richard, it's not Jeremy, but there's a person inside that truck. It's not that thing of, drop the truck but leave, for safety reason, leave the person outside. This one, you actually see them do that. And for me, I was mind blown when they did that. I was like, yes, this is the kind of stuff that I actually miss from Top Gear and the Grand Tour. Those risky kind of things that they usually do. The other moment that for me was astonishing was there's this tunnel that they have to go through, and at the end of it, there's a mine. And so you'd expect it to be scripted. You'd expect it to be like, so this is what you're going to do and this is what you're going to do. But whatever happens with Richard and May, I was like, okay, this is for real. And I love the Ebola angle, I love the mines angle, I love the fact that Jeremy is never afraid of anything, but there's actually something that actually makes him uncomfortable. So for me, that was pretty cool. Now the cars were pretty interesting. I loved as usual, if you watched Grand Tour, if you watched Top Gear, there are some things that are pivotal to the show. There's something is going to happen to someone's car, and someone else will be blamed for it, and they'll blame something else. And that happens to James, that happens to Richard. So far, what happens to Jeremy? I can't remember what happens to Jeremy. They do something to May's car, they do something to Richard's car, and it gets absurd as you continue moving, because at a certain point, Jeremy and Richard modify their car to do a particular thing, and something happens to Jeremy's cars that pays off at the end, almost at the end, that third act, it pays off. Something happens to the truck with something else, and I thought to myself, wow, they actually really thought about this. Yes, it's a joke, but there's that moment where you go like, oh, is that thing appearing there? So that is there. So this is what they set up, and that is what so it's possible that they're actually going to do this. So they do something, and I'm like, yes, that's a very good payoff. It feels like it was actually well thought through, not scripted. Well, they actually sat down and thought about, this is what you're going to do, this is what we're going to go, this is what's going to happen, and this is what is going to happen at the end. When they get to the Mauritania capital, now, there are documentaries about cars, and they go to different countries, and you see these beautiful cars, and you see these high-end cars, and you see supercars, and they review normal cars, and they review everything else. Wow, it was fascinating when they went to the capital, and there were all these cars that I don't even know what to call them. It's just a fascinating car culture, and as much as their mind were blown, my mind was also blown, because I got to see how other people live with their cars in different countries. There was one particular car that I was astonished that it was actually moving. If you see it, you'll know it. It was, I think it's also in the trailers, it was like, wow, these people actually have their own culture, and it's not what you think. There's clearly a problem, either with the imports or something economical problem. But my goodness, the car culture there is totally different from what I've known in the world. I used to think that in my country there are older cars, and so cars are usually not taken care of. But nah, we are far more beyond. I come from Kenya, which is east of Africa, but yeah, our car culture is totally different. We have, people here drive, compared to that, we drive like extremely new cars. There are some, wow, I can't even call them cars, Mercedes. They have a thing for Mercedes, but it's old school Mercedes from the 90s, and they evolve, but not evolve in a good way. It's something that you have to see to understand. I can't quite explain it. It's something that you just have to see. So apart from that, now, the other thing that I noted from this particular special and James May, our man in India, the shots are insane. The white shots. I keep saying this, and I thought I said it in my previous review. You can check it up here. You can freeze a frame from this show when they have those white shots and use it as a wallpaper. There's one particular shot with the Eye of Africa, that jaw dropping from above. Yes, there's the comedic element about that, but when you take that away, just that shot. There was a shot with the cliffs, there was a shot with the train. There's one particular train during the opening scene. That shot was fantastic, and you can see just how much attention is paid to the cinematography in these particular shows. So it felt like, it felt like old school Top Gear in terms of that paying attention to the quality of the picture. But this one felt like there was an effort to make like super quality shots, and obviously it's the desert, so you have these fantastic land formations, you have these fantastic dunes, so it's naturally good looking. But again, it's how you capture, it's how you utilize light. It's how you utilize light even during the night, to just compose your shots. There's an area that they pass through that looks like, it basically looks like what you would expect from a 60s Western movie. And they try to give us history about the place and just what the country is going through in terms of people coming to film like in a place like that. So that was, for me, was very, very fascinating, and I have to appreciate the team that usually shoots these particular episodes, because you naturally don't see this kind of shots in a lot of shows. Maybe you see it in Nat Geo, but Nat Geo, their shots are based on trying to capture something interesting. This is based on just capturing a fantastic, good-looking image. So yeah, that's basically it. When you think about the performances, Jeremy Clarkson is Jeremy Clarkson. Apart from that stunt was crazy, but he's still the Jeremy Clarkson that we know. Richard Hammond, the banter is insane because he went all out in this particular episode. James May is still James May, but a more cooler, more confident James May. I think the highlight for me was when he went to a library somewhere, and then the cars in themselves, their character in themselves. I think James May Maserati was almost crumbling, dying in the middle of the journey. The Jag, a much lighter car, a much more powerful lighter car, was actually, it didn't have a lot of breakdowns compared to the two. It didn't have a lot of issues. James cars had issues with the Maserati had with the structure, especially when they went onto rough roads. And Richard's car was now I think the movie should have this particular episode should have been called the Grand Tour Special Terminator 3, because wow, that Aston Martin gave it drove Richard it almost drove Richard insane, and but that was the highlight for me for this particular show. So if I was to give this like my own score, I would give this a 4.9 out of 5. It's perfect. I don't know. I cannot tell you what I did not like about the show. I cannot tell you what is wrong about this particular episode, because I love Top Gear. And even if you've never watched Top Gear, you've never watched Grand Tour, you'll enjoy these guys, you'll enjoy the environment, you'll enjoy the stories behind where they are and whatever is happening. You'll enjoy the banter, you'll enjoy the discoveries that they actually make, you'll enjoy the stupidity, you'll enjoy the the relationship between the three, because it's still so strong. You'll enjoy the humor, the callbacks. If you're a Grand Tour fan, the callbacks are yeah. So this is a solid 4.9 out of 5, and I would hope that you'd watch it, because it's a rewatchable factor. I've watched it for 3 times. It's very, very rewatchable. Before I did this, I watched it like 3 times, and I didn't feel the fatigue of which one did I watch and I felt? There's one they went to Vietnam, the boat ones, the one that they went with the boats to Asia, and Jeremy Clarkson had this military like boat, and James May had this luxurious small boat. That one I couldn't go back a lot of times because I felt like it was entertaining, but you got a bit bored. There are some things that you expected and it got a bit dreary at some moments, but this one somehow kept me. I watched it the first time, I was like, yeah, that's really good. So I had to watch the second time to think, wait, there has to be something wrong with this. I couldn't find anything. Then I rewatched this morning before I actually, as I was coming up with this review, as I was conceptualizing how I'm going to format this review, I rewatched it. I was like, wow, this is actually really good. These are really beautiful shots, These are really fantastic shots of the desert, of the Sahara Desert. And so that's why I just have to give it a 4.9 out of 5, because I cannot give it a 5 out of 5. So there's nothing is perfect. If there was something wrong, it would be, there's nothing. I can't think of anything that was actually wrong with this particular show. So yeah, it's a 4.9. Remember, now that's it. That's my review. So basically that's it. Thanks for watching. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. And I shall see you on the next one. Please subscribe if you're still here.